Something is shifting in the unseen realm, a tremor in the energetic field that connects you to this person, a vibration that has been building for weeks now, intensifying, accelerating, pushing toward a moment of rupture that will change everything between you. You can feel it perhaps in the restlessness that wakes you at 3 in the morning, in the sudden flood of memories that arrive without warning, in the strange certainty that settles over you when you least expect it, whispering that something is coming, something inevitable, something that has been written in the stars since the moment your souls recognized each other across the crowded landscape of ordinary life. The stagnation you have been living through, the painful stillness that made you question whether anything would ever move again, is about to shatter like glass struck by a frequency it cannot withstand. What has been stuck is about to move with a force that will take your breath away, and the person who walked away, who retreated into silence, who convinced themselves they could live without you, is standing at the edge of a decision that terrifies them more than anything they have ever faced. They are feeling it too, this building pressure, this cosmic insistence that the time for hiding has ended, that the universe will no longer allow them to deny what lives between you. Carl Jung spoke of the transcendent function, the psyche's capacity to bridge opposites and create new consciousness from the tension between conflicting truths, and this person is experiencing that crucible right now, caught between their fear and their love, between their pride and their need, between who they pretended to be and who they actually are when they stop lying to themselves about what you mean to them. Write "I'm ready" in the comments if you can feel this energy shifting, if you sense the approaching breakthrough, if you know in your bones that the waiting is almost over. Inside their mind right now, there is a war being fought, a brutal confrontation between the defenses they constructed so carefully and the truth that refuses to be buried any longer, and the defenses are losing, crumbling under the relentless assault of everything they have been trying not to feel. They have reached their limit, the point where denial becomes more painful than surrender, where pretending costs more than admitting, where the energy required to maintain the illusion finally exceeds their capacity to sustain it. For months, perhaps, they told themselves stories about why leaving was right, why distance was necessary, why you were better off apart, and those stories worked for a while, provided shelter from the storm of their actual feelings, allowed them to function in the world without falling apart every time they thought of you. But stories built on false foundations eventually collapse, and theirs is collapsing now with devastating speed, revealing the raw truth underneath everything they constructed to avoid this moment. They cannot eat without thinking of you, cannot sleep without dreaming of you, cannot move through a single day without encountering some reminder that splits them open and forces them to confront what they walked away from. Pride is finally losing the battle to love. That ancient struggle between the egos need to be right and the hearts need to be real. And love is winning not gently but violently, tearing down every wall, exposing every lie, demanding acknowledgement with a force that leaves them shaking and breathless and undone. They have tried everything to make this feeling go away, tried distraction and rationalization, and even attempting to replace you with someone less threatening, someone who did not see through them the way you did, someone who would not require them to face their shadow and grow beyond the limitations of who they have always been. Nothing worked because nothing could work, because real soul recognition cannot be negotiated away or reasoned out of existence, because what lives between you exists on a level beyond conscious control, woven into the fabric of who you both are. They are working up courage for something big, rehearsing words in their mind at 2 in the morning, imagining scenarios and outcomes, calculating risks and building themselves toward a moment of action that will require them to shed every protective layer and stand before you completely exposed. This is not going to be a text message sent at midnight when their loneliness overwhelms their pride, not a casual like on your social media that maintains plausible deniability, not another breadcrumb designed to keep you orbiting their ego while they continue to hide behind their fear. What is coming is real action, decisive and undeniable, the kind of gesture that cannot be misinterpreted or explained away, that will announce clearly and irrevocably that they have chosen you, that they are willing to risk everything for the possibility of what you could build together. They are planning an action that will require them to be completely vulnerable, to step outside the persona they show the world and reveal the trembling, uncertain, desperately hopeful human underneath. and the terror of that vulnerability is nearly paralyzing them even as they recognize it is the only path forward. You have been wondering if they think of you, if you crossed their mind even once since they disappeared into their self-imposed exile, and the truth is you have never left their thoughts, not for a single day, occupying space in their consciousness that nothing else can fill, appearing in their awareness with such persistence that fighting it has become more exhausting than surrendering to it. They have been gathering themselves, piece by piece, trying to become worthy of what you offered before, trying to heal enough to receive the love they were too broken to accept when it was freely given, and now they are approaching readiness, approaching the moment when their internal preparation will translate into external action. The collective unconscious, that deep reservoir of shared human experience that Jung identified as the source of our most powerful symbols and patterns, is pushing them toward this confrontation with their authentic feelings, using synchronicities and dreams and sudden insights to show them what they must do. They keep seeing signs of you everywhere, your name appearing in random places, songs that remind them of you playing exactly when they need to hear them, chance encounters with mutual friends who mention you casually and send shockwaves through their carefully maintained composure. Timing is never random in matters of the soul, and this moment of their awakening has been precipitated by something specific, some catalyst event that shattered their comfortable denial and forced them to see clearly what they have been trying to ignore. They saw you moving on, perhaps, caught a glimpse of you genuinely happy without them, witnessed you beginning to build a life that did not include space for their eventual return, and the sight of your freedom terrified them in ways that nothing else could, confronting them with the possibility that their window of opportunity might actually close, that you might genuinely release them and find wholeness elsewhere. Or perhaps they hit rock bottom in their own life, reached a point of crisis that stripped away all pretense and forced them to evaluate what truly matters, what they would grab if everything else was burning, what they would regret losing if they suddenly faced their mortality, and realized they had wasted their chance at real love because of pride and fear, and the stubborn insistence on being right instead of happy. Something broke through their defenses recently, some moment of clarity that arrived with undeniable force and showed them the truth they had been avoiding, that walking away from you was not strength but cowardice, that protecting themselves from potential hurt had guaranteed actual hurt, that playing it safe had cost them the only thing worth risking everything for. They had a dream, perhaps vivid and devastating, where they saw you clearly as you are, saw the love they rejected, saw the life they could have built, and woke up with tears on their face and certainty in their chest that they had made a terrible mistake. Or they simply reached the end of their ability to pretend, exhausted every strategy for convincing themselves they made the right choice, and finally admitted in the privacy of their own heart that they have been wrong, that they want you back, that they are willing to do whatever it takes to repair what they broke when they walked away without looking back. Jung understood that we cannot truly love another until we have confronted our shadow, that dark repository of everything we have rejected about ourselves, everything we refuse to see, everything we project onto others rather than owning as our own, and this person has been forced into that confrontation whether they wanted it or not. They had to face their demons before facing you, had to look directly at the wounds that made them run, the fears that made them cruel, the insecurities that convinced them you would eventually leave so they left first, protecting themselves from imagined abandonment by guaranteeing actual abandonment. The shadow work has been brutal for them, stripping away the stories they told themselves about who they are, confronting them with the reality of their patterns, showing them how they have sabotaged every good thing that ever tried to take root in their life. They have had to acknowledge their capacity for harm, their tendency toward emotional unavailability, their use of distance as a weapon when intimacy became too threatening, and that acknowledgement is the first step toward actual transformation rather than just repeated cycles of the same mistakes with different people. You cannot meet love with an unhealed heart, cannot offer authentic partnership when you are still at war with yourself, cannot build something real when you are operating from wounds rather than wholeness, and they are learning this truth through direct experience, through the pain of recognizing how their unresolved trauma poisoned what existed between you. Subscribe to this channel to witness this journey unfold, to receive the guidance that will help you recognize real change when it appears, to stay connected to the wisdom that will support you through what is coming. They are doing the work now that they should have done before, dismantling the defense mechanisms that protected them from pain, but also blocked them from genuine connection, learning to sit with discomfort instead of running from it, developing the capacity to be seen fully and still believe themselves worthy of love. When they finally move toward you, it will not be subtle, not ambiguous, not something you will need to analyze with friends trying to decode hidden meanings and parse intentions from insufficient evidence. It might be a letter, pages of handwritten vulnerability that took them days to compose, words they have never said, truths they have never admitted, an accounting of everything they felt and feared and regretted. It might be a phone call at an unexpected hour, their voice shaking as they speak the sentences they have rehearsed 1,000 times, asking not for immediate reconciliation, but simply for the chance to be heard, to explain, to apologize, to begin the long process of rebuilding trust they shattered. It might be them showing up in person, appearing in your physical space with the kind of courage that requires them to face potential rejection in real time, unable to hide behind screens or distance or carefully edited messages, forced to stand before you and let you see them completely. What they will offer is words they have never said before, vulnerability they have never shown to anyone, the kind of emotional nakedness that terrifies them precisely because it matters so much, because you matter so much, because the risk of rejection feels like the risk of annihilation. An apology that does not make excuses or shift blame, that takes full responsibility for the harm they caused, that acknowledges specifically what they did wrong and demonstrates clear understanding of how their actions impacted you. A confession of feelings they have been too afraid to name, love they pretended did not exist, need they tried to deny, recognition that you were not just another person passing through their life, but the person who showed them what genuine connection could feel like if they were brave enough to receive it. A plea perhaps not manipulative or demanding but honest and humble, asking if you might consider giving them another chance, if you might be willing to see if they have truly changed, if the love that existed between you might be worth the risk of trying again. Understand what this costs them, the magnitude of what they are sacrificing to make this move, because they are laying down their pride like a weapon they no longer want to carry, admitting they were wrong when admitting wrongness feels like death to the ego they have constructed so carefully. This is not a breadcrumb tossed your way to see if you are still interested, not a low-effort test of whether they still have power over your emotions, not another manipulation designed to keep you available while they continue exploring other options. This is the whole loaf, everything they have, offered without guarantee of acceptance, extended into space that might reject it, thrown into a void that might swallow it without acknowledgement or reciprocation. The risk of rejection they are facing is enormous, possibly greater than any risk they have taken before, because you know them in ways that make hiding impossible, because you have already seen them at their worst and might reasonably decide that their worst is too much to navigate again, because they burned this bridge once and you might have decided you will not allow them to burn it twice. They know they might lose everything, might hear you say that it is too late, that you have moved on, that the window they left open has closed permanently, that your heart no longer holds space for someone who treated your love like something disposable. They know they might have to watch you walk away from them the way they walked away from you, might have to feel the pain they inflicted reflected back, might have to live with the knowledge that they had something precious and destroyed it through their own fear and foolishness. And they are doing it anyway, gathering their courage despite the terror, moving toward you despite the risk, choosing vulnerability over safety because the alternative, living the rest of their life wondering what might have been if they had only been brave enough to try, has become unbearable. Jung wrote that the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances, that if there is any reaction both are transformed, and they are seeking that transformation now, willing to be changed by the risk of reaching for you, understanding that staying the same is no longer an option, that they must evolve or die inside, must grow or calcify into bitterness and regret. Real change speaks through consistent action, not just words, through demonstrated commitment over time rather than passionate declarations in a moment of desperation. and you must be able to distinguish between authentic transformation and another cycle of the same patterns wearing a slightly different mask. When they come back, if their return is genuine, you will see evidence in the details, in the way they approach you with humility rather than entitlement, acknowledging that they have no right to your forgiveness, that they are asking not demanding, requesting not expecting. They will respect your boundaries without testing them, will accept your pace without pushing for faster progress, will understand that trust must be rebuilt slowly and that you owe them nothing simply because they have decided they are ready. They will do the work consistently, showing up even when it is difficult, maintaining their growth even when you are not watching, demonstrating that their transformation is about becoming a better human, not just about getting you back. Manipulation reveals itself through pressure, through attempts to rush your healing or skip over necessary conversations, through deflection when you raise concerns, through making you feel guilty for not immediately accepting their apology and returning to how things were before. Real change, by contrast, is patient and accountable, willing to sit with your anger or hurt without becoming defensive, willing to hear how deeply they wounded you without making it about their discomfort at being seen as someone capable of causing harm. Watch for consistency between what they say and what they do, between the person they claim to be becoming and the person who shows up in your daily experience. Share this message if you are waiting for real transformation, not just another round of empty promises. If you know the difference between someone who wants you back and someone who has actually become someone worth going back to. You will know it is real when their actions make you feel safer, not more anxious, when their presence brings peace rather than chaos, when you can sense the difference between someone performing change and someone living it. When they finally reach out, when they make themselves vulnerable and offer you what they should have offered before, your response holds immense power, and you must remember that this power belongs to you alone, that no one can tell you what to do with it, that both forgiveness and refusal are valid choices depending on what your heart needs to heal. You are not obligated to accept their apology, not required to give them another chance, not responsible for rewarding their growth just because growth is happening, because sometimes people change too late, sometimes the damage is too extensive to repair. Sometimes the healthiest thing is to honor their transformation from a distance while protecting your peace. You are allowed to say not yet, to tell them you need more time, more evidence, more space before you can consider opening your heart again to someone who shattered it so completely. You are allowed to say not ever, to decide that this chapter has closed permanently, that you have moved beyond them into a version of yourself that no longer aligns with what they offer, that you choose yourself over the possibility of reconciliation. But you are also allowed to forgive and try again, to recognize that humans are imperfect in learning, and sometimes we have to lose something to understand its value, that their journey toward you through their fear and pride might be evidence of something worth nurturing. You are allowed to set conditions, to require therapy or time or specific demonstrations of change before you agree to rebuild what was broken. You are allowed to move slowly, to keep your guard up, to verify their transformation through observation rather than taking their word for it. Both paths are valid, both choices are yours to make, and the only wrong decision is one made from guilt or obligation rather than genuine desire. The mirror effect that exists between twin flames, the way each reflects the other's unhealed wounds and highest potential simultaneously, means that whatever you choose will teach them something essential about themselves, will contribute to their growth regardless of whether that growth happens with you or without you. This is not years away, not some distant future possibility that exists only in theory, but something close enough to feel, approaching with the inevitability of dawn after the longest night. The energetic prapara. Tian is nearly complete, their internal work reaching the critical mass that will tip them into external action, the pressure building toward a release that cannot be delayed much longer. Watch for synchronicities in the coming days and weeks, signs that the universe is orchestrating this reunion, numbers that repeat themselves, dreams that carry messages, unexpected encounters with people or places connected to them, songs that speak directly to your situation appearing exactly when you need to hear them. When you notice these patterns intensifying, clustering together with unusual frequency, when the veil between what is and what is becoming starts to thin, you will know the approach is imminent. Divine timing operates according to laws we cannot see but can learn to sense, moving pieces into position with precision that seems miraculous only because we lack the perspective to see the entire design. They are being moved into position right now, prepared by forces larger than their individual will, guided toward the moment when their readiness and yours intersect, when what needed to heal has healed enough, when what needed to be learned has been learned sufficiently. The unexpected is coming, bringing with it the opportunity for closure or new beginning, for final release or renewed connection, for the ending of one chapter and the potential start of another. Are you ready to receive it, whatever form it takes, whatever it asks of you, whatever transformation it demands? Are you prepared to respond from your highest self rather than your wounded past, to choose consciously rather than react habitually, to honor both your hope and your discernment as you navigate what arrives? The storm is nearly here, the energy reaching its crescendo, the moment of revelation approaching with the weight of destiny behind it, and all that remains is for you to stand in your power and wait with open eyes.